Oops, I forgot to push the button. Hello and welcome. My name is Tom. This is the Enthusiasm Project, Season 5, Episode 7. And with the clunkiness of that intro, can you tell that I took a week off? Because I did. And I wanted to bring that up because I really appreciate, I got quite a handful of kind messages of people who were super concerned, going like, what was happening? Why was there no episode this week? Is everything okay? Everything's totally fine. We went out of town for a few days and the dog was really excited about it. And when we came back, I had planned to just do a podcast over the weekend. But then I also had videos to make. And honestly, I didn't really have a great podcast idea. So I kind of thought, well, if I can take this off my plate, especially since I don't have an amazing idea that's like totally ready to go right now, why choke it to life and crank out something that's mediocre and is going to exhaust me? We'll just take the week off and then come back strong. And that's what we're doing today, which is a little bit different. Basically, I was coming in to record a podcast and Heather was out eating breakfast because it's very early in the morning. And she said, what's your podcast going to be about? And I said, it's going to be about marketing. And she said, that sounds like fun. And I said,
let's see.
You said that sounds like fun.
Did I say that?
You did. You said it's exactly like they said. It sounds fun. And that's when I said, do you, because I know marketing is your thing, do you want to be a part of it? and then you said, sure, I can. And I was supposed to be doing something else this morning that got canceled. So I already have everything turned on. I'm already dressed and ready to go. So I was like, well, we got to do the video version. So thank you for being here.
Yeah, I just rolled out of bed. So
it's okay. I'm glad you're here because we don't... you don't know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. And it's something that I've been wanting to talk to you about for a long time, but I keep forgetting.
Great.
Because it's that important. So I think it's going to be interesting. It's one of those... It might be one of those... Well, we'll get to it.
Okay.
So it has to do with marketing.
Yes.
And the main idea of it came from our mastermind group a few weeks ago. Because we were doing a mastermind class and people were talking about different things. And... Well, okay. Pause that thought there. So the other thing that I finished this morning was turning in what is now my third sponsored video for Artlist.
Okay.
Like it's all finished and it's all done and it's ready to go. And this was sort of a little different because previously Artlist had approached me to do sponsored stuff and I said no, just because I wasn't comfortable doing sponsored things. And then earlier this summer, like in May and June, they approached me again. I said yes. So I did 2 sponsored videos after they approached me for that. So I just did 1 in May, 1 in June, just 1 video a month. And then all the YouTube numbers kept going down throughout the summer. And I thought, boy, could really use a bit of money at the moment. And so I, for the first time ever, reached out to them and said, hey, want to do actually I told them about a series of videos I'm doing where not on my Thursday uploads, but on my Monday, like every other Monday, uploading a mic review, or not a mic review, a mic comparison video. So I have all these microphones, and instead of just, hey, I'm going to make a review about this one microphone, and then it's sort of like, it's just back there again. Like, well, let's take different ones and put them side to side and head to head and see what they do. And I had pitched that idea to a number of people, and they really liked it. So I thought, hey, this is pretty cool. We should do that. And that's... Artlist was totally on board with that, which was awesome. So I basically got to do my idea that I want to do anyway, but they're just sponsoring it, which is great. But that was the first time I've ever reached out to a company to go like, hey, would you sponsor a video? I've never done that before. And the reason that ties back into our mastermind is because like a month ago, we had a meeting. And one of our members is named Rob, and he has a YouTube channel called Disney Blog, or you can go to disneyblog.com. And we were talking about sort of the same sort of thing. Rob has a background in sales and marketing and stuff. And I was explaining, I don't know if people pay the mastermind. I was explaining my thoughts on how I feel about all that kind of stuff. And Rob said, he said 2 things, I think. It was like in the chat, he said, marketing doesn't have to be evil. And then in video, he was like, I just have one thing to say about that. And he did like thumbs down with fart noise. And I was like, I kind of laughed, and then I thought, well, I like Rob and I trust Rob, and Rob is a nice guy and he's into marketing and stuff. And it really was like, okay, I think I need to reevaluate my opinion on, not so much reevaluate, it's not that it's changing, but it's changing my perspective on it. So essentially, going from starting a YouTube channel and feeling like, oh boy, you know, everything to do with like being salesy or doing sponsor stuff is just evil and awful and I'll never ever do that, to like, sure, if I have to like hold my nose and do it, I'll do it from time to time if it's a good fit, to like, hey, there's probably ways to do this that are actually just totally fine for everybody. And maybe instead of me just sitting here twiddling my thumbs and going like, okay, if somebody wants to approach and help out, I could actually even be proactive. And it's not going to hurt anything. So marketing might not be evil after all.
And thank you for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next time. What's your question?
That's what I'm talking about.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, here's, I don't know. I don't have much to add except the thing that I would tell you is same thing you tell me is if you don't know if you didn't know how it was done before, then how would you do it your way? And I think that's the same thing with marketing. I think the reason why we have a bad taste in our mouth is because we've been, exposed to the like used car salesman antics, and especially online, that's like very prevalent. And because, I think the way that we approach our videos is like we want to make the videos that we would want to watch, and there's so much of like pride, and the sense of integrity with the content that we're creating, and that goes for the philosophy and the approach and all of that. And so like I can see why the heck would you associate yourself with being in the same field or using the same thing as these other people that are kind of like coming off as shady. But really, I mean, there's marketing tactics and strategy, but you can, forget the word marketing and just think of like partnerships.
Right.
And there's these people who want to there's a way to create a situation where it's mutually beneficial for everybody.
Right. And that's what it's what I've tried to keep in mind. Like, you only partner with certain people. It's not going to be random VPNs or crappy mobile games that like I never play, because that would be terrible. So far on the sponsored videos I've done, I've gotten zero negative feedback, virtually zero feedback, other than a couple of people who are like, oh, I signed up for Artlist now, which is kind of the point of doing it. So that's cool. Which means it's fine. And you can use chapter markers on YouTube. So you can even put like, hey, here's the ad segment, skip over it.
I think, and this kind of goes off of my whole like enthusiasm economy spiel, which I won't get into for this episode. Okay. But if you want to know more, I have my own podcast about that. But I think like what you have been able to do is really, keep YouTube. You have kept the control as a YouTuber. And I think that majority of people who get into YouTube, they it's like even when they quit their job, there's this feeling of like, yeah, I work for myself, I'm an independent YouTube creator. But then really you're just a freelancer. You've taken a bunch of clients in the form of YouTube, right? Yeah. Because YouTube pays you AdSense, and then also companies who pay you sponsorships or affiliate. So I think that, even though you're using a similar approach, like I would say a majority of your income comes from those same sources, there's a different approach in terms of like, you are actually really being careful with choosing and making sure it's in line with you. And that means saying no to a lot of things. And I think that's like really key. It's very hard to turn down a couple $1,000s over and over again. Like that's hard. Especially when it's like, well, just do a minute long ad thing and you get several $1,000s. It's so much easier. It's of course like it's so easy, but that's the thing with branding, right? Which I think is different than marketing, because branding is like, it takes so long to build that reputation, and every single thing can contribute, and it takes years. It has taken, like countless hours of you creating content to like form this brand. And it can be, unfortunately, like, snapped away with one bad video or whatever.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think that, you've been able to keep to that, which is super admirable, because I know it's hard.
It's fun. And you were helping me too, because when I was talking about the mic review videos, like where this all stemmed from was I had the idea to do these mic comparison videos, but my fear was they're not going to be the most exciting videos because it's me in a controlled environment with two microphones going like, which one sounds better? And I can put goofy jokes in it and I can make it look really pretty, but ultimately it's not going to be like, wow, what an adventure that was.
I mean, we
could
go outside.
But
Let's do like a outside
But
test.
the thing is, though, that's not always helpful because people are going to buy the microphone to use in probably a similar situation to where I'm using it. So to actually make it a helpful resource, it kind of has to be that. And I'm fine with that. And I even did a poll on YouTube where like people were like, yes, I would love this, blah, 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 blah. I was like, okay, cool. And then me thinking, well, if it's not like the Thursday video, but it's a separate video, then you still get the normal Thursday one you just get the normal Thursday one. And then this can be something else. And that's when I was like, well, if it's something else, then it could be sponsored. And then that's where you said, well, the ad read could be like, you could do the thing. So for the first one, I really like the way that it came out. You haven't seen it yet, but it's funny because like halfway through the video, there's just a really big, awkwardly shaped square covering up the microphones. It looks like it's weirdly censored. Like it's not even a square. It's like a weird oblong. And then I'm like, well, this is the blind microphone taste test. And then like, oh, look at all this empty space down here. That's a great time to tell you about Artlist. And then like their logo is on the block. And then I just switch between microphones as I'm saying the stuff, which it's not even like the stuff I need to say. They're literally like, or I said like a 60-second thing. And they said, sure, that sounds cool. Could you mention this like contest we're doing? Okay. So I just do my own thing for 60 seconds, talking about it, going back and forth. And then at the end, reveal which microphone is which. And it worked out great. And even if you're not interested in the ad, you can still listen to the sound quality and make your pick on like which is. So it was like it was a fun way to do it, I thought. Besides me just rambling and reading like random stuff or whatever, it was like, hey, it seems like a win-win-win for everybody.
Exactly.
So we'll see what people actually say about that. But it even goes this like the sponsorship thing is the most recent one, but it goes to like courses and email, just all the stuff that's always been an uphill battle for me to get over. But it's like you said, the association is so funky about, look, there's the washing machine making its cameo. It's the uphill battle of like being used to hearing people talk about products they never use, shady services, the used car sales thing, and just not wanting to be a part of that and not wanting. I still don't know where that line is of like, hey, this video's sponsored. And everyone's like, okay, cool, no big deal. But obviously, if every single thing I make has a, hey, this video's sponsored thing, people are going to get tired of that real quick. I'm going to get tired of that real quick. So still figuring out where that line is. But ultimately, finally having the realization of, oh, it's not inherently evil to do that. It's a tool. It's a hammer. Like you could build something, you could destroy something. And
it's just awareness and creating a product or service for a specific demographic or target audience, and then like understanding how to speak to them. And like, why wouldn't you, if you have something that could be like very impactful, to someone who actually needs that thing, there's nothing wrong with that. We want them to be able to, that's your whole mission, right? Like the whole point of doing this is like to make an impact, but also make a living, doing that.
What you love.
Yeah, exactly. And unfortunately, people, it's the same thing with like YouTube. People who have come before us have not really painted YouTubers in the best light. But I think that, what you've been able to do is you're very transparent. And that's the thing that is hard for companies. But for us, like we're so transparent. We are, the way that we talk on camera is the same way that we talk off camera. Does that make sense? On camera, off camera?
It's all the same.
It's all the same.
Yeah.
And there's no like, what do we say publicly and privately or anything like that.
Here's what I really think.
Yeah. And I think that, we've been so open about that, which unfortunately people don't have the freedom to do sometimes. So I get like where they're coming from, but You know, I think that what's also cool is the culture is evolving where people understand, like, I know it can be super annoying when people are like, oh, here's another sponsored video, another sponsored video, another sponsored video. But I also do think that, like, consumers in general are understanding that, okay, this is how these creators are also businesses. Like, this is how they make their money, because obviously it's like, we can't, if you like this, like, we can't just keep doing it for free, you know?
Well, so tell me how you feel about this. We talked about this a while ago, because every so often I will tell you about a Reddit thread that I read, and
Reddit on Reddit.
That's right, Reddit
on Reddit.
And one of the things that pops up regularly is YouTube, because what I typically do is at night when we're falling asleep, if I need to put myself to sleep, I either read a book or I read Ask Reddit. It just depends on what mood I'm in. And a lot of times Ask Reddit, because I get through like 4 questions and I just fall asleep. But it's a whole subreddit of just random questions. So it's everything, you know, from like, what movie has a huge plot hole that's always bothered you, to like, you know, what is the meaning of life, and everything in between. And anytime YouTube gets brought up on anything, I can look, and here's the question, whatever it might be, like, what was the best period of time on YouTube? What's your favorite YouTube? Whatever the question might be. And you see that there's a lot of replies, because YouTube is a popular thing that people use. And you go into the replies, and it always goes into a talk about ads. And then people doing like their mock ad reads, like, hey guys, what's up? It's your boy here. Don't forget to smash that like button. All right, let's get into it. But before that, let me tell you about my new merch drop without further ado, but don't forget one more time. And like, you know, it's really funny, like the fake scripts that they write and share there. But then it's like, I've seen this happen literally dozens of times, like as in multiple dozens of times. I've read the same exchange where then people will complain about ads. There's so many ads on YouTube, blah, blah, blah. And then someone will say, well, YouTube doesn't put the ads on the videos. Usually it's the creators are the ones that put the ads on their videos. And then people will say, well, they shouldn't do that. And someone else will say, well, they need to get paid. And it goes into, nobody told them that this needed to be their job. Why do they need to get paid? They could just do this for fun and have a regular job like a normal person. And it goes into this whole thing where people go in that direction of like, sure, yeah, I guess creators need to get paid, but who told them? Like, they decided they wanted to take this thing that the rest of us are doing for fun and entertainment, make it their job, and now we have to pay them because they decided they want to do that. And it gets very like hostile and mean. I know it's hard to believe that something on the internet would get critical and hostile, but it does, and that's usually where I just stop reading. How do you feel about that discussion of like, because what you just said was that thing of like, well, we're doing the stuff, we're putting it out there, like, you know, got to get paid so we can keep doing it, versus people who are like, well, do you have to get paid? Why can't this just be a hobby that makes no money?
I'm trying to think of like an analogy, but I know there's an analogy. I just can't think of it right now. But like, the way that I would say it is, people who complain about that are just straight up trolls, because 100% put them in the same position. And it's like, you know, you do the same thing, bro. And also get YouTube Premium and move on with your life.
Right.
Like,
also that.
Like, the analogy I was like trying to come up with is like, you know, it's like, okay, so with marketing, a very key component is that it's not marketing if you're not actually refining a message for a specific person, right? Because if you're just saying a message and spreading it to everybody, like, there's people who are going to hate on it, feel like it's irrelevant, think it's dumb, blah, blah, blah. And there's, you use the same exact message to the right person. They're like, oh my gosh, this is life-changing. This is the thing that I need. And that's what I feel like those people are. It's a very, like, you know, weird, I don't know, it's just like a weird part of YouTube where I'm like, why is this? I've seen that on Twitter, and I see how you would see that on Reddit, but like, no one in our community would ever say something like that, or even think like,
yeah, well, once people are in it. But it reminds me, you and I were talking a while ago, and you had said something about how, I forget exactly what was brought up, but it was basically, we were talking about, since so many people start YouTube as a hobby,
yeah,
and then it turns into something, that it's easy to then not value it, or to not realize it has value, or, you know, it's hard for someone to say like, yeah, I'll do a sponsored thing for this rate here, or we know people who charge companies to not just get paid to do the review, but like even feature a product. So even if it's not like a sponsored thing, but where sometimes, you know, if Rode sends me a microphone, I'm like, oh, Rode sent me this, talk about it, even though I don't have to say anything. They'll say like, yeah, we'll do that, but you still have to pay me to even include the thing at all. And then there's other people who are, you know, they will bend over backwards to get a free phone charger or something just so they can include it on their channel. And as time goes on, it's hard for, I imagine it would be hard for companies to go like, well, here's 2 YouTube creators, you're thousands of dollars, you're free. Like, it's hard for there to, like, you almost automatically devalue yourself because of either the lack of experience, a lack of knowledge, or because you can do it as a hobby for fun and not need to do anything with it. And then it's sort of like this weird thing. I don't know if you remember us having that conversation, but
yeah, I do, and you know, it kind of goes off of the discussion of like, I think it was in the research of the passion economy, enthusiasm economy, because everyone starts off as like, oh, this is a funsies thing. But like every artist starts out with like a funsies thing.
Right. You just pick up some paper and start sketching.
Exactly. And then you can be the next whatever. So, you know, I don't know. It's just, I feel like the people who complain about YouTube creators or like YouTube ads are like also the same people who like don't have YouTube Premium, which, okay, I didn't have YouTube Premium for a long time, but it's like you're sharing Netflix passwords and like, you know, I don't know.
YouTube Premium, totally worth it. Just, yeah, like I don't know. Oh my gosh.
If you watch YouTube a lot, then why don't you just, it's the same as paying for any other subscription service.
I probably get more value. This sounds like a commercial, not sponsored by YouTube Premium, but I probably get more value out of that because I use it more than the other stuff.
Because like, is it the YouTube ads that bother you or like the sponsored ads? Because that's different because I actually like seeing the creativity with like how creators do ads.
Yeah, know? There's cool
and maybe
ways.
It's because I don't watch a lot of creators who like do sponsored videos all the time. You know, so it doesn't bother me as much.
Yeah, I think people dislike. I think it's both. People dislike YouTube ads, and people make fun of YouTubers saying this video is sponsored by so and so. And I get it because a lot of times it's pure garbage. Here's some really crappy Bluetooth headphones, but you know, this company paid 80 YouTubers to make the same ad at the same time. Here's a bad mobile game. Here's a weird VPN service you don't need. Like,
right. And the approach there is like, look, if a company is paying you purely for the exposure of like, we just need content, we just need views, we just need eyeballs on the product, then like, you know, I don't want that to be my boss. Like, I wouldn't say yes to something like that.
Yeah,
but if it's
course.
like, oh no, the company is approaching you because, you know, they appreciate your perspective. You're not, if they're approaching the partnership with like, you're not just a creator, but you're Tom Buck, the YouTube channel, then that's, you know, that's different because it's like, they know there's a perspective there that is what they are paying for.
Right.
Like, that's the value. It's not how many views is this going to get? How many subscribers does this channel have? You know, that's exposure it's like, it's basically like, oh, where's your billboard?
Yeah, it's this old school marketing of like, how many eyeballs are on this TV show? This is our ad rate for the commercial spot during the show.
Yeah, but then like if you are, you know, I don't know, like you're hosting a local event with a bunch of enthusiasts who are excited about cameras, like,
yeah,
even though it's not located in Times Square, that's like the target audience to talk to.
Right.
And basically, the person who's complaining about YouTube ads is literally complaining like, so can you make the same complaint about how Times Square is just covered in billboards?
Right.
What is that? Like, just don't go. Don't watch.
I think
like,
the thing that bothers me is because you're 100% right that people who are in, whether or not they do ads or don't do ads or whatever, they're at least more aware of it. Because I've never heard of someone who runs a YouTube channel being critical in that way of somebody else who runs a YouTube. Because
exactly, it's
regardless
like,
of the difference of opinion,
we just have this like mutual understanding of like, you know, we get it.
But I recognize that probably the majority, not the majority, but a lot of people, no, the majority of YouTube viewers probably aren't YouTube creators also.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
for
of
sure.
course.
Yeah.
So they don't, so just something the same way you would get annoyed by TV commercials. Like, God, there's so many commercials. And the TV station is going to be over here going like, yeah, we kind of want to stay in business and like get paychecks and stuff. So we need commercials.
Yeah, but it's like, I just feel like, are we seriously still at the point where people don't understand that YouTube is what dictates the ads that go in front of your video?
Oh, people do not understand that at all.
Serious?
People do not, because I mean, go literally right now. If you go to Team YouTube, you're going to see responses that are like, "Are
you sure those people are not like 15-year-olds?"
Oh, I don't know who they are, but I mean,
See, so I don't know. I would be okay. Here, poll your audience. If you're like 30s and above. Do you understand that that's YouTube? That's YouTube's monetization, not YouTube monetization, but the way that YouTube makes money.
I think there's a slim line of people who know that, like, yeah, which is why it's really funny. Because just yesterday I saw someone complaining to Team YouTube on Twitter. I forget what the ad was, but it was something kind of risque for like a weird, as like a Trojan brand thing or something. And then Team YouTube's reply was like, the ads that you're seeing are usually dictated by your web behavior.
Freaking behavior. Exactly.
It's like, which is really funny because that's why, like, I'll see ad for camera gear and you see ad for like.
And I'm not familiar with how YouTube ads works, but I've done Google ads and I think it's all through them. And then I've done Facebook ads, like I'm more experienced there. And the targeting is crazy. It's totally based on like, it's based on your footprint on the internet.
Yeah. Someone in this, not even just age, race, that kind of stuff, but someone who like has an iPhone that they're likely to upgrade the next 3 months on the West Coast of the United States, who watches videos during the weekdays on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
Who watches these YouTube channels.
And watches these specific channels, yeah. It's crazy. And that's where, like, I still have the icky feeling. That's where marketing is a broad term, and I have the icky feeling of like where everybody is just being used and everything's being manipulated. But like you said, if you throw out the term that you're used to and you just go to like, well, here is a brand that wants to support what you do, and
but not even so. Take it this way: pretend you're the brand, right? Not pretend, but this is really what's happening. You're the brand, and you're telling everybody about your new favorite toy, the Rodecaster. Yeah. And now, literally, everyone, I would be willing to bet 90% of people in the world have a Rodecaster because of Tom Buck.
That would be Rode.
But my point is, like, that is marketing.
Yeah,
that was marketing,
and that's based on enthusiasm because I've never made a sponsored Rodecaster video ever.
Exactly.
It's all
and
just,
it's been mutually beneficial for you and Rode and the people who have a Rodecaster,
right?
You know, and there shouldn't be anything like there's
nothing gross about it. Yeah, and that literally came from like I kind of went on a rant in my most recent video about this because. Because when I'm doing the mic comparisons, I was like, okay, I would use the mics with the Rodecaster, but people get mad when I use the Rodecaster because
they think that you're
like it's a $600 mixer. Of course, the mic's going to sound good. So I did both, and I did it in the Focusrite Scarlett, which is basically the most affordable one, and then the Rodecaster also. But I explained in the video like the Rodecaster is $600. The sound quality is the same. You're paying for like all these other features that it has. That's why it's $600. And people constantly send me messages going like, it's too expensive, $600 mixer. But when I made the first videos, the reason I was so excited about it was because I had spent years piecing together these podcasting setups and knowing what a pain that it was and how ultimately it ended up being more expensive. So when this came out, I was like, this solves all of those problems. I'm super excited about it. I could not wait to make a video about it. I could not wait to like learn more about it. As soon as they updated firmware, I'm like, oh, I want to make a video about the firmware update. And like, it was just that excitement that I just really did want to share this with people because I wanted people to know about it. And I think that's what people trusted when they watched it because it didn't feel like a commercial. It felt like I'm watching a guy get real excited about this podcast
The scary
recorder.
thing about like, the way that we are marketed to now versus like say early 2000s in the 90s or something is that we are always on our phone, right?
Yeah.
So it's like before there was only certain key touch points that companies can reach out to us to tell us about their product. But now it's like, okay, you can literally watch one roadcaster video and boom, there's another one, boom, there's another one,
Right.
boom, there's another one. Especially if it's like you have done multiple videos, it's easy to think that, oh, everyone's got a roadcaster. This is a thing that I need to get. And it's hard to remember, like, no. There's a world that has no idea.
People don't even know it
roadcaster.
exists. Yeah, most people.
Exactly. So, and I think, because I was thinking about, I don't want people to take it the wrong way when I say that, like, the people who are complaining about YouTube ads are people who don't have YouTube Premium. I feel like they're the same people who are complaining that YouTube is even a thing, and I think anyone who's listening to this podcast knows how much we love YouTube. Mm-hmm. It's a tool. Okay. There are bad things. There are good things about it. There are ways you can use it for good. There are ways that you can use it for bad. But 100%, the fact that we met, the fact that we have, we've built our businesses, you left your career to do this. Like, I mean, it every day I wake up, I'm like, I can't believe we get to do what we do. And it's because of this platform. So I happily pay YouTube Premium, right. Take 40% of my super chat things, because it's like, you are a partner in my business. I'm not paying rent.
Right.
For a brick and mortar, spot on Main Street.
This is what Luis and I were talking about last
This is the
episode.
rent.
Yeah.
Exactly.
You can upload unlimited 4K. You could stream in 4K forever, indefinitely.
That's crazy. Yeah.
For free. I mean, that's pretty nuts.
And I'm never gonna get over that. So these people that are complaining are just like, oh man, okay, if you're not complaining about this, you're complaining about something else. It's just trolls, and they're loud. They're loud.
I know that they're loud, but it's always in the back of your mind when you're making something. You're like, I see people having these discussions where they're like making fun of YouTubers or criticizing this or that, and then you're like, oh, I don't want to be lumped into that category for someone.
Also, I find these conversations interesting because I feel like what they're based off of are the big YouTubers.
Yeah, like, of course.
Because that's where most of the views are being generated on YouTube. And so, it's like, I find that very odd when that's not happening in our world.
Yeah, well, going back to Reddit, that's the thing I've talked about this before.
Like,
but
literally, Doc works for Ecamm.
Yeah.
Are we going to think like, hey, he's marketing right now? Like, it never even crosses our mind. He's literally, it's his job to be a walking billboard. But he does it in a way that's like, well, first of all, the product's great. Yeah,
it comes from he got the job from enthusiasm because he was just super psyched about it, and they were like, "You're doing a better job than we are. Can you just do this for us?"
Exactly. So
Yeah, but I mean, that's where you see when he's like, "So this is why you use Ecamm instead of some other thing for this." Is okay, it's because of what he uses, but that's what I was saying. Going back to Reddit was. Oftentimes one of the questions that pops up is like, what underrated YouTube channels would you recommend? And it's always stuff like, you should check out Mark Rober for like cool science things.
Because they're 16, dude. Like, I swear to God, these people,
I don't know if I think it's
young.
A swath of people, because I think it's every age group, but you'll hear like, oh yeah, this person, they only have like 2 million subscribers. Whereas in my mind, it's like, they're
like, I don't think I'm subscribed to a channel that's over 1 million, except for PewDiePie and Phil DeFranco. Otherwise, like, everyone I watch and Vlog After I don't know if he crossed 1 million yet. No, I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Everyone I watch is sub 1 million.
I mean,
Jenna Marbles, who's been MIA, but
yeah.
I mean, most of the channels I watch. How about you? I'm curious.
Yeah, most of them are probably in like somewhere in the hundreds of thousands, and then there's like smaller channels because I always get excited about when I find like a small channel that it's like making an investment. I'm like, yes, I hope they do it, and you subscribe and see if they do well. But my point was just that people's perception of what's happening is skewed in just the stuff that's the most popular is what they know.
Like, what? That's not my experience on YouTube. Like, it's not like, I know I'll keep hammering this home. I know I pay for YouTube Premium, but pay for YouTube Premium. Oh, you can't because you're 12 and you don't have a credit card. Like,
well, I mean,
like, I think it's mostly, I think it's mostly like kids.
I mean,
I don't know. I know you read the like the wording, the rhetoric there, and maybe they sound older.
Well, I mean, that's where it is on Reddit. Like, I believe the average user is more like
older?
our age because of just
Oh.
the platform that it is. And every once in a while you get people who are like, I'm 76 years old. I'm over here on Reddit, which is really cool. It was like the people who dove into the internet when, 25 years ago when they were in their late 40s, early 50s, they got really excited about being online. They've been ever since. And now they're in their mid to late 70s and they're still just like, I'm on Reddit, which is great. So I think it is everybody. So I think it's more like the perception of stuff, because if anything, I would almost think younger people would be less critical because they're so used to it, and the people that they admire are the ones doing these things. So if anything, like,
They're used to it. Yeah, it's like
if anything, it's almost an ambition. Like, I don't know, in our day, seeing like a music artist you like show up on TRL, which is just marketing. Like, it's not like they got invited, like, oh, you should come on our little show that we do in Times Square full of billboards. It's like, no, your agent talked to MTV, you booked a thing, you showed up on TRL to promote your tour, your album, whatever, and it's a commercial.
Here's what I think it comes down to.
Okay.
Is I don't think that you, since this is about you,
As all things should be, yes.
should worry about what people think. Like, I don't think you should be worried about, like, am I coming off like a sleazy salesman? Am I coming off like these weird marketers? I think that it's great that you're, like, exploring these feelings, but at the end of the day, if you can rest easy knowing that you didn't compromise your integrity, you didn't do anything that you feel like, you have a weird feeling in your stomach, or your gut's telling you, oh man, like maybe you should have done whatever. Like, I think that's how you can navigate.
It's hard, though. I appreciate that. And it's not like, oh, care what people think. But when you're putting something out there, like, if there's a bunch of people who are like, hey, man, like, your video is bad, your video is bad, your video is bad, eventually I'm going to go like, is my video bad? Like, if one or two people say, like, this video sucks.
Who's
I'm
saying your video's bad?
I'm just saying example. When you're creating something that goes out for an audience, you can't not pay attention to what they're thinking, because they're an important part of the interaction. Like, you can say that you're creating for yourself, but cool, if I'm creating for myself, why can't I just put the video on my computer and watch it whenever I want? Why do I need to put it out there?
It's not like don't care about what people think, but I think, like, going back to this whole marketing discussion, it's like, that's how I feel like you've done it right this whole time.
Well, that's where
like, you're obviously doing a great job.
That's where that's where when we heard Rob's thing in our mastermind, ytmastermind.com.
That's marketing.
That's marketing. When he said marketing is not evil, because I realized I had this moment in that where I had gone on whatever diatribe I went on.
I still don't understand whether he's being sarcastic or not.
No, the reason was I had gone on this thing not realizing his job is sales.
Yeah.
Like, so in a way he had just paid money to be part of a group where then I spent 5 minutes sort of disparaging like his entire strategy of how he does things and that he's really good at. So I think he was being playful, but I also think he was also like, it was the same thing when like Raphael says like, Tom, just let people give you money. Like, if they, like, why are you stopping people from supporting you if they want to support you? And I think it was that same sort of thing of like, it was to me realizing that I had said something that was like, it's like when, somebody who's older says like, all millennials are lazy, and they're saying it to you on Facebook, and you're like, but I'm
not.
I'm one of the people that you're talking about, but for some reason in their mind, it just doesn't equate as like you're one of the people I'm talking about. It was kind of that same thing where I was like, this is like marketing, blah, 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 not realizing that like, here's someone that I really like who does that for their living for decades. And it was just sort of like, for some reason that really stuck out to me, because I was like, if Rob showed up and tried to sell me, I'm not in the mood, or not in the mood, I'm not in the market for, medical imaging equipment.
But like, even Rob, we got a care package that was like Disney Blog pins.
Oh yeah, there's Disney Blog sticker right here.
Yeah, Disney Blog notebook, pens, like,
But I wouldn't, if
he's got domain.
I don't feel, it doesn't feel scuzzy. It just feels like it just really made me realize that like it's okay. Why?
Because when marketing is done right, no one talks about it. You don't even realize it's happening.
Now, is that
bad marketing? Oh, you'll never stop hearing about. But like good marketing it's an experience. You're having a great time. There's nothing to complain about.
right? Well, it's like when people said the Lego movie was just a big ad for Lego, and I was like, yeah,
but it was great.
It's also a great movie. So if I can watch a great movie that's amazing, that people genuinely put artistic skill into, and then it makes sense that you would make Lego products based on the movie because it makes sense, so then it's a win for them. But the movie itself came out of the like homegrown community of stop motion Lego filmmakers. So it wasn't like just a random thing. Like here's the, weird action figure movie. It was like, no, there's a community of people who've been making Lego movies forever. And now we did a big budget version of that, which is super interesting to see. Like it worked. It was marketing and it was a sales force for Lego, but who cares? Like it didn't bother me.
Yeah. Like, so
it's one of my favorite movies.
Would you rather not have had the movie? Like,
right. It's literally one of my favorite movies in the world is that one. And I think this is where now there's no right answer here, but I agree with what you said. When marketing is done well, you don't notice it all. I think that goes with a lot of things. You watch a video that's edited really well, you're not going to notice the edits. But you watch a video that's edited poorly, you're going to be like, why did your shirt change
all
suddenly?
All of a sudden, yeah, the people will go into the comments and tell you everything that's wrong with it.
But when I noticed this for years doing critiques with students where the best projects would have sometimes the least amount of feedback, at least technically, because you didn't even notice it. You didn't notice that we saw a reaction shot while we heard someone else's dialogue, which is a very advanced editing thing for a high school student to do, but it was there and it just felt so natural that no one even noticed it. And I think you're right. Like good marketing is the same thing. Scares me because I feel like if that's wielded on purpose with bad manipulative intentions behind it, but maybe by default, then it wouldn't be good marketing because you would.
It's just like Times Square. Like no one thinks it's just Billboard City because it's cool. Like I think it's cool, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like there shouldn't be like, oh my God, they're all just trying to take my money. Like it all comes down to you have the power of choice. Okay. Like you can choose to put your phone away, watch a different, you don't have to go down the Roadcaster rabbit hole make you think that the world, like everyone's got one. No, go jump into like, anime YouTube or whatever and watch something totally different.
Right.
And it's you don't have to expose yourself to these things. So I find it silly to blame people who are just trying to do their best.
Well, I think
for like what you're consuming, like just turn. It's like the same people who are like, "Why are you going to do this video?" Go, just leave, man. Just leave. Why are you watching this video? Unsubscribe. And thank you next. Like, are you serious? Like, you're going to take the time to complain about this right now? Bro.
I
don't know.
Ultimately, yes, you're right. And I think it's sales, marketing, whatever you want to call it. It's such a broad thing. There's good examples, bad examples, positive outcomes, negative outcomes. It kind of is what you make it. For me, the reason I wanted to share this was just the number one thing that I seem to get asked at the end of every time I'm on someone's podcast or stream is they go what advice would you give to someone just starting out? What's something you wish you would have known sooner? I can't even count how many times that question has popped up. And for me, it always comes down to I wish I had been strategic sooner. I spent the whole first year actively blocking any kind of opportunity, and then sort of dip my toes in affiliate stuff, and then only literally now am asking a company hey, would you want to sponsor a video? Which they were like, yeah, sure, no problem. And we already have an existing relationship, so it was a very easy thing. There's trust, there's an actual relationship there. And part of me is I always say I kind of wish I would have done that sooner, but I don't know that I could. It's just sort of looking back on that journey of going from literally my channel had a thing in its description that said, this is not a source of income. I have a full-time job. I'm not interested in earning revenue from this, to this is my full-time job and things are a little slow this month. So let me see if I can get a sponsored video. Very different. Can it?
And I'm proud of you.
Well, that's why I wanted to talk to you about it. Cause I was I feel like this is, And being able to do that without selling your soul. You know, like we've talked about friends who've turned down 5-figure deals.
There should be a sense of pride and like, you know, you're an artist at the end of the day, and they're like, you're a professional one.
What I make is art.
So I have a funny, this is like not related to YouTube, but it's a very interesting marketing story. I forgot where I read it, but you know, Febreze.
Yes.
Okay. So Febreze is an actual like scientific product that I don't know how it works, but it actually does stick to scents in the air and like makes it go
deactivates
them. Yeah.
Them.
Like it's an actual product that was new when it came onto market, which now we're like, you know, I actually don't like Febreze because I've always gotten the scented ones and I hate the lingering smell. Mm-hmm. But you know, especially if you're a mom of like 4 kids, and
let me tell you about being a 9th grade English teacher in a portable classroom, and then you have freshmen after lunch.
That's so gross.
I had a cabinet full of Febreze, and then kids would always be like, "Why does it smell like Febreze in here?"
Like,
so it doesn't smell
actually
like you.
Works.
Yeah, it does.
Like the product is good.
It does something,
and arguably it's good.
Yes.
Well, when they first brought it to market, no one cared. And they would say, like, no, seriously, it works. Like, look. And everyone's like, yeah. And it just still never took. Oh, this is where I read it. I read it in The Power of Habit, Charles Duhigg.
Oh, okay.
And then what they did was, I think what they did was they started to come out with commercials where a mom would be, like, vacuuming the living room, and then just like you floss your teeth, like, right after you brush your teeth, it's just, like, the next step. After you vacuum your living room, you spray Febreze. And it was just like the habit that they started to show. There was always like a vacuum. And that's when it took on, was that it just became habitual. It became like the habit that you're not done cleaning until you do the final step of Febreze. Same product, nothing changed, but it was just the marketing of, like, let's make this.
Yeah. I mean, bringing it back to YouTube, that's when there's a video that doesn't do well and you change the thumbnail and suddenly it takes off. It's kind of the same thing.
So anyway.
I like that story. But yeah, and that's a good example. There's nothing, like, it's not let's say maleficent. It's not a malicious product.
My point in bringing that story is, like, marketing, it's psychology, it's consumer behavior. It's like, there's so much research that goes into, like, even if your product is good, especially back then, you know, I think now, you know, the way that I would handle marketing from a branding standpoint, like from a company standpoint, is to find all the influencers. I don't care, you know, huge YouTubers, micro influencers, whatever you call them, but people who have the loyal audience, where it's like there's already a trust factor with the audience, the community, and you just say, like, you know, what everyone's doing. Here's my product. We think that it would be in line with your body. Like, I think that's the way to go. And that's hard when, like, you're speaking to the masses through a television set. You've got a 30-second spot, and, you know, how do you even...
Yeah. It's funny because just yesterday I was watching that video from Drew Gooden, who is one of the channels I subscribe to that has several million subscribers, but it was where he bought for a month, he just bought all the weird stuff that was advertised to him, and then got it, and it's just like, is this garbage or not? I think he gave himself a budget of like $1,000 to spend on stuff, and it is crazy to see the marketing, because one of the things was just a backpack.
Which is so crazy, because literally, this was a YouTube channel that I made. Ads Seen On.
Oh, it was?
Yes.
It was.
I started a YouTube channel, like, I don't know.
Forgot about that.
2 years ago, called Ads Seen On. And I thought it was so clever, because it's like As Seen on TV, but it's Ads Seen on Instagram. Wow. And I wanted to, like, get all the Instagram products that I saw, because I was buying, like, so I have a problem. Not so much of a problem anymore, but I have insomnia, like, every month, basically.
Sure.
And what I do is I go on my phone and I start buying, like, impulsive buys on Instagram.
At like 2 a.m.
Yeah. And then, like, there'd just be another package, and Tom's like, you know, the same way, like, there's a new camera tech thing.
Yeah.
For me, it was just like, here's a little doo-diddy knick-knack thing.
Doo-diddy.
Doodad. And, like, half the stuff I bought, I mean, they were bad. Like, you know, like we got the water bottle.
That's what I was thinking of. The dog water bottle is a good one.
I I got this phone case that's supposed to like stick to anything, but I've never used it. It works. I don't know. Like,
I remember that one. It also like sticks to everything though, like in your pocket and stuff.
yeah.
But it's a good idea. And what's funny is like, some of the stuff that he buys, like he'll get him. He's like, this is actually pretty good. I'm not going to lie. But a lot of it is like garbage or overpriced, but you see how it's advertised. And the example that stuck out to me was one of the things he bought was a backpack. And it's like, he's like, it's very hard to advertise a product that like already exists. And it was a colorful backpack. It wasn't like anything crazy. And like the ad was some really hip looking dude, very Gen Z millennial on the cusp of everything. And he's like, this has a giant pocket and there's a mesh thing here. And Drew, the video was like, so it's a backpack with a big pocket and a smaller pocket. Like that is every backpack ever. And it's $140 or something. So, my point was just sort of like the marketing of those things. There was another thing. It was like a belt company where they were using stuff like space age webbing, blah, blah. It's like, this doesn't mean anything. Like,
well, so like, this is a funny story. So back in my days when I didn't know any better, okay, so Tom is great because he has been the one who is like, I think because you were so foot in the ground of like, I refuse to let this be a paid thing, that like, when companies reach out to you, you were just like, no.
Right.
No. You didn't even give them the time of day. For me, it's like, I didn't know any better. Mm-hmm. And I had a skateboard company reach out to me and ask to sponsor a video.
And this was early on.
Well, this is because of Boosted Board.
Yeah.
So it wasn't boosted because I just didn't have the reach on my channel for that. But, they liked my Boosted Board videos and they were like, we have an electric skateboard. We want to, do something with that. They sponsored a video. They sent me their skateboard for free. But what they also asked was for me to be like a face of the brand. And it's because like I, purple hair, snapback. I was like 20 pounds lighter back then. I was skating on the, beach boardwalk.
In California, yeah.
Yeah. There's palm trees in the back. Like there's, it's just Southern California lifestyle.
Influencer.
Like, yeah. Like I looked apart and, that made me, it was very weird. It was weird to have the opportunity presented because it's like, I don't know. Like, I don't even know how to navigate that.
Yeah.
Like,
how do you, and your channel.
I said no. Well, the reason why I said no is because I was like, wait, so they can use my pictures like in perpetuity. So like 20 years from now, they're still using my face. And that's when I was like, okay, that means I need a contract. And then it just got too hard. So I was like, forget it.
Yeah. And it's not worth it. And ultimately you're like, but I like boosted boards anyway. So like, can I not be seen on a, it was like, was it Britney Spears who was the Pepsi thing that she was drinking a Coke and it was a big controversy?
Yeah.
It's like that kind of a thing. All the people who you see this pop up all the time, but they talk about like this new Android thing or blah, blah, blah. And on their tweet, it says sent Twitter by iPhone or whatever. And it's like, guys, come on, like, tighten it up a little bit. But yeah, it's a weird world to navigate.
You know who has a show about marketing trends like that are like super relevant? Like, you know how we talk about creator news in the past week sometimes?
Sure.
This channel talks about marketing stuff that happened in the past week. It's Rich's channel. Big promotions.
Oh, are you promoting
Rich Graham? He's in our Just Create More community, justcreatemore.com. Join us. We're a community of passionate and dedicated YouTube creators.
This whole episode was just to do that link share. Just kidding.
Don't talk like that. Oh my god.
Sorry. That weird voice is a sign that we have reached the end of the episode. But I just wanted to share, I wanted to share with you the revelation I had that marketing is not inherently evil. It is a tool, and whether it's used for good or bad, all depends on how you use it. And if you're somebody who creates something and puts something out there online, there's absolutely nothing wrong with getting paid and having partners, as long as you do just have your principles that you stick to and just let that guide you, and then it's completely okay. And I'm telling myself that as much as I'm telling you that. But that, to me, mentally and emotionally was a very big leap from where things were a couple of years ago. So
yeah, congrats.
Well, thank you. And thank you for letting me pull you in to be a part of this episode unexpectedly in the morning. So, and thank you Everybody who's listening and or watching, if you want to get the video versions and see our beautiful faces, that's marketing. You can be a patreon.com/TomBuck or YouTube channel member, and you get the video versions of the podcast. And if you have something that you would like to add, I have a feeling there are things we have said throughout this episode where opinions might have popped up. If you want to share that, whether it's text, voice, or video, you can send an email to tom@enthusiasmproject.com, and I can bring that in next week's episode. So thank you so much for listening. Always appreciate it. I hope you have a safe, happy, healthy, fun rest of your day, and we will see you next time.
Bye.